Hey guys, I didn't want this to kind of be a secret anymore. I talked to some people about it, but not too many people know about it. And a subscriber was asking me some questions, and they were saying, "Look, um, how do you know it was an oxalate that came loose and got into a joint or something like that that caused the bruising back when I started carnivore?" And I had to disclose to them that eventually, this was something that passed, and the bruising was just temporary. It was an adjustment phase for me on carnivore. Somebody else had asked me about, I'm concerned with the dirty keto that you're doing because I really want to follow you and I like the information that you put out. It's just I can't wrap my mind around you eating so many dirty meals for 14 days straight. And a little bit about my condition that I don't disclose to people. It's embarrassing, and it seems to be something that has been lingering for years. It's called amobiasis or amobic dysentery. In 2008, I was moved from a forward operating base called Fob Falcon in Adamia, Iraq, and that's just south of Baghdad. And I went over there with the 2nd Brigade, 4th Infantry Regiment, and it was hell. We had a nice fob. We had a nice DFAC where we could eat steaks and tacos and cakes and all this other stuff. But I decided to be an obligate carnivore. I would only get sausage and steak and shrimp and fish and stuff like that. And I would never eat the other stuff because I was big. I was jacked. I was huge. And I was one of the bigger guys in the battalion. I was the strongest guy in the battalion. There might have been one other guy stronger than me, but he was Samoan and he just was naturally strong. And we trained together all the time. And we would do these missions and stuff sometimes where we would go out for long periods of time. Now, I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm some kind of super soldier or anything. I'm actually not. I'm proud of my military career, but I didn't do anything in my military career to really feel like, oh my God, you're a super soldier or anything like that. I did the same thing that anybody else would do. I went out on patrol sometimes. I stayed on base sometimes. I manned the office sometimes. I would do night raids with the guys sometimes. We would go out and do door-to-door knocks to try to get intel and stuff on people that were in the area that were bad. I was a normal soldier just like anybody else, but what ended up happening to me was unfortunate. There's not a lot of people that wanted to do my job, so my MOS was 13 Foxtrot, and basically what I did was I controlled fire assets. If there were planes coming in to shoot at targets and stuff like that, I was the one controlling the aspect of the plane coming in and shooting at a target. They were just flying the plane. I was telling them what to do. I've got enemy personnel at this grid location. We're getting fired at. I don't know where they're coming from. Can you fly in and do a show of force and just come down in real low and just shake the ground up a little bit? You have big A-10 warthogs coming in, and these things come in, and they're loud, and the ground just shakes, and these guys get scared and they stop shooting at you. Or you're doing a blackout raid mission or something like that, and you need helicopters to come in and drop flares strategically along your route so you at least know where you're driving because it's blackout. I can control their egress. I want you to come from north to south or south to north, and then I want you to fly with us down this main route. So being over there in this environment where there's sand and chemicals and you're constantly dirty all the time, you're not being able to shower, you could be gone for days sometimes. You could be gone for 10-hour missions, or you can be gone for 20-hour missions. It just all depends on what group you're running with, what your mission is at that time. And the condition that I caught was unfortunate because over there it's very dirty. They have big fields of trash and dead bodies and stuff. They dump in them sometimes, and we got to a point where there were so many wild dogs running rabbit over there that we would have to shoot these wild dogs because they were in packs of 10, 20, 30 dogs at a time, and they were overtaking certain areas. So we would have to purposely kill these wild dogs, and sometimes you just left their bodies wherever they lay. You can't do nothing about it, and there's a lot of sewage breaks out there where the ground would bust and sewage would seep through the ground. And there's a condition called amobic or amobiasis dysentery, and it's an infection that gets into your. It just makes me sad talking about it because it's embarrassing. um, It's a condition that gets in your digestive tract, and it spreads. It can get to other organs. It can shut your whole entire system down. And a lot of times, it's a bacteria that lives on feces. It could be cysts that are discharged through the body, and it can live on feces outside the body. It can be from extremely unclean, dirty climates. It's not really found so much in the U.S. because our system here is a lot cleaner. And it was a bad time in my life because they were moving me from my operating base with my guys, and they wanted to move me north to Baghdad. And they were putting me in an area with a 1/3 ID, a mechanized unit, and the guy's name there was Captain, or they called him Psycho 6, because your captain has a 6 recognition next to his name, so he might be Delta 6. That's your captain. Your first sergeant, your non-commissioned officer that's in charge, he would be Delta 7 or Warrior 7 or Warrior 6. Those single numbers 6 and 7 would indicate who's in charge. That is either your first sergeant or your commander. So they called this guy Psycho 6, and I started hearing stories about this guy anyway before I even moved up there. And I was like, what the hell am I doing, man? And why are they taking me from my guys down here and moving me up there? Why am I the one that's chosen? Why can't they just take anybody else? I'm just a stupid soldier. Well, they needed somebody that were good at their job, and they needed somebody that can do dual roles. Not only are you going to man intel and stuff like that and work in the office from that standpoint and track where everybody's at out in the AO, tracking all night. Platoon. First platoon is here from 4 to 6, and then they're moving over here. Second platoon is going to be here in these villages doing cordon searches or blackout raid missions from this time to this time. And they used me a lot in tracking intel and things like that, and I worked in an office a lot, but I got to go out as well a lot. And can you just imagine the most small area compact with tons of people, tons of buildings, tons of killing every single day, tons of gunfire and stuff every single day, just feet away from the walls where you live, where you lay your head. And the only thing that divides you from them is a 20-foot wall. And right outside that wall, a man just got shot. Another man got blown up. These things went on in this area because it was just west of Sadr City. We had Adamia, Fob Falcon, Baghdad, the green zone where there was really nothing going on. And then up above it was Sadr City. And then just to the west was our cop. And our cop is just a control observation point. And it was a small unit where we took over some things and we operated out of this thing that only had 15, 20-foot walls. And it was rough living there because you didn't get hot meals and stuff every day. You didn't get showers and stuff every day. You didn't get food supplies and stuff every single day. So one day, I'm out there with the local Iraqis and stuff like that. And I had just got done working out. And I was sore. And I was, kind of broke down and real rough or whatever. And I just didn't want to do anything. But one of the interpreters came up to me and said, let's play ping pong. And I had got pretty good at ping pong. So I'm out there finessing him all over the table. And, of course, he's going to beat me because that's what they do over there. They play a lot of ping pong. And he beat me. And, I licked my wounds or whatever and got over it. But it started raining. And it hadn't rained in almost a year. We didn't experience any kind of rain or any kind of relief from the heat unless it was like 85 degrees at night. During the day, it's 110, 120, 125, 130 degrees. And then at night, it's down to 85. And you're thankful for 85 when you sleep. It sometimes feels cold because the temperature change is so drastic. Your body has gotten used to being hot every single day. Well, it started raining. And when it started raining, guess where that rain comes from? It's evaporated from the ground. And guess where all the sewage busts and the chemical spills and everything else is going on over there in the military operating and doing their junk all over the place. And all that stuff's getting evaporated up into the air. And then it's got to rain back down. Well, the area we were at, where there's a lot of sewage on the ground and stuff sometimes, there's a lot of trash all over the place. It was a very, very, very dirty place. Well, when it started raining, I was out there that day. I was out there playing ping pong with this guy back and forth, and the rain came down. And everybody else went inside the buildings. It was my first deployment. I didn't know what was going on. They were senior to me because They had been deployed before. They knew you're not supposed to be out there in that rain. I didn't know that, so I stayed out there in the rain, and I'm enjoying this cool water hitting me and cooling me down because it was 130 degrees. Well, little did I know, I was letting this water hit me and get all over my body and stuff that had been evaporated from the sewage and stuff that spilled all over the place, and all the junk that was all over. It wasn't clean water. It was water that it could make you sick. That's why nobody else stayed out in the rain. And it was the first rain in a long time. So all that stuff came right down on top of me, and I'm an idiot out there enjoying it like I'm, running through the rain to meet my lover or something like that. Little did I know my lover was dysentery. And I didn't think anything of it. I went back in the building, I changed my clothes, I threw my clothes in my laundry hamper, and I laid back down on the bed. Well, I laid back down in the bed, and 3 hours later, I'm waking up, rolling off of my bed, throwing up all over in the floor, shitting on myself at the same time. I can't figure out what's going on. I cannot control myself. I don't know what's going on. I'm crying, and there's blood in my vomit, and there's blood rolling down my leg from what's going on, and I don't even realize what is going on with me. And it progressively got worse. And I got so sick that I couldn't go out on missions and stuff anymore. I got so sick that I couldn't function anymore. And they said, well, I mean, he's a useless soldier to us out on missions right now. We can't take him. So he's going to have to stay here and try to help out in the office as much as he possibly can and at least do something as a soldier. And he could lay up in bed all day, but I don't know if that's going to do him any good. They didn't know what condition I had. So they would take me to the aid station, and they would have to carry me to the aid station. 2 big sergeants on each side helping me move to the aid station. I could not walk. Like, I almost had no mobility of my legs at all. And I went to the aid station, and they gave me these shots, and they're trying to figure out what's wrong with me, and they can't figure it out. They started testing stool samples and stuff like that, and it came back within a couple days. He's got a major... Sorry, my phone cut out. But anyway, my car likes to switch to the Wi-Fi instead of leaving it on the service for the cell phone. So I have to go back and I have to turn the service for the cell phone back on and cut the Wi-Fi off. I don't know why it does that. But I would have to go back to the aid station every single day, and this condition got progressively worse. It started to spread through my intestines. The stool started turning black. The vomit was turning black. I didn't have a normal function at all. They were trying to keep fluids in me, but they couldn't keep fluids in me because it kept coming back up. They kept having to give me IVs. They kept giving me shots in my ass. And I had to keep going to the aid station and keep these antibiotics or whatever was in me. They were trying to combat it and fight it the best that they could. And they couldn't figure out why nothing was working. But the more I stayed hydrated, the more the hydration alone kept a lot of it from spreading, and stopping the eating of food was helping me a lot. The more I ate, the worse I felt. So there were periods of time where I wouldn't eat for days, and I would just throw up blood and shit blood, and they would just try to keep me hydrated, more IVs and stuff like that. And that seemed to work better than anything did. But for a long time, that condition never went away. It always hung around inside my body somewhat, and that condition never went away. It always hung around inside my body somewhat, and they still to this day don't know exactly what it is. They just know that's the closest form, amobiasis or amobic dysentery, that seems to be lingering around in my body, and it's not completely gone. It never completely left. And it's something that the military has been trying to help me figure out for a long time, and it shuts a lot of my system down. And I couldn't figure out what was making the conditions worse. So they would have to strap a rope around me and let me take my clothes off outside of the shower and let me walk in the shower, and then throw the rope up over the top of the door and pull it down and hold me up enough to where I could just sling my hands around a little bit and get soap on my body and stuff and wash, so I could at least clean myself. I didn't have dookie and stuff all over me all the time. Sometimes I would just go to the bathroom on myself and I wouldn't even realize it. I had no function. And it was a rookie mistake. I mean, we didn't expect rain. We didn't expect any of that over there. It was something that just happened, and me being the idiot that I'm sure people thought, oh, it's not going to be a big deal. He's not going to... It's very rare for it to happen. but I got it. And the military, they don't like bringing it up. They don't like treating me for it. They don't like seeing me for stomach conditions and stuff like that, because they probably know that I could get disability for the rest of my life. And it's something that I don't force, because I don't want to feel like I'm a disabled person. But at the same time, it's a condition that has been lingering for years. You know, I got out of service back in 2010, and I kind of spiraled out of control, gaining weight for years before I decided to get back to carnivore. When I ate vegetables, I realized the things felt, I felt terrible. So about 3 years ago, I was living in Bartlett, Illinois. And, you know, over this span of time where I got out and it seemed to get better, but it kind of lingered sometimes, and I had stomach conditions that never went away. It sometimes it would get progressively worse under certain circumstances, and other times I felt great, and I didn't have an issue. And the more I would eat fibrous foods, the more I would eat vegetables and fruits and stuff like that, the worse it would get. And I couldn't put two and two together for years until um, like 2016. I was laying in bed, and I woke up, rolled out of bed into the floor, and drugged myself into the bathroom, and I was thrown up in the toilet again, shitting on myself again. Blood, this time it was red blood. And I said, man, this is the same thing I dealt with before. It's all over again. This stuff is still in my body. And I would eat vegetables, and it would make the condition worse. It would make my bowels inflamed. There's a number of things that would happen. So I pulled myself. I laid in the floor for about 6 hours, not being able to function, and just kept trying to hydrate and drink salt water, hydrate and drink salt water. And finally, I got enough energy to where I can crawl down the stairs, and I could get to the car. And I almost passed out several times trying to drive to the hospital. And when I got to the hospital, I got in the hospital, they wheeled me in with a wheelchair and stuff. They took me back there, and they said, you have some kind of chronic diverticulitis, colitis, something like that. Something's really tearing you up inside. And I said, look, I've already been diagnosed with a dysentery condition that's been following me for years that never completely went away. This amobiosis or amobic dysentery, and they're telling me, oh, that's not what it is. It's that it could have been that at the time, but it's progressed, it's changed into something else that has destroyed you internally, intestinally. So this colitis, diverticulitis condition that you're living with, it may be something that you live with for the rest of your life because of how bad that original bacteria infection was, or virus, and whatever it was, amobiosis. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe this is something that I may have to live with for the rest of my life. So I have to tailor my diet to this lifestyle to not make the conditions worse. It slows down a lot of things inside my body that are not supposed to function. That my labs are fine. My condition overall seems to be fine. But I have to be very careful with what I put in my body, because it can make this condition worse. So, you know, after all this time, I thought, you know, no big deal. I started focusing heavier on clean keto. And I lost, you know, 30, 40 pounds at the time, and I started feeling better. And then all of a sudden one day I woke up, the same thing again, right out of bed. I wasn't up 30 minutes. I was drinking a little coffee, and I was thinking about, you know, what I was going to do that day. It was a Saturday, and it hit me out of nowhere. More stomach cramping. It felt like something was trying to rip out of my stomach. It was this severe pain that it felt like an animal or something was trying to crawl out of me. And I said, you know, I wonder if this is what birth feels like. I wonder if this is what women go through when they give birth, because it feels like I'm about to have a damn baby and something's trying to claw out of my stomach. So I went to the hospital. I was sick, super, super, super sick, 101 fever. This time it was black blood in my vomit again. It was black blood in my stool, but I can control myself a little bit more. It wasn't as bad as the last episode that happened. So when I was talking to my doctor and stuff, and my doctor, I was telling him, he said, man, this is terrible. I can't even diagnose you with an exact condition to tell you this is exactly what it is, because you've got so many different symptoms that can lead to so many different digestive issues. You just need to figure out what's causing this to keep reactivating. And I said I can go for long periods of time. I'm on the keto diet now, and I cut out all the other stuff that I was eating before. Maybe I just need to cut out all the vegetables as well. And he didn't agree with me at first, but he said, let's see what happens. So I cut out all the vegetables completely out, and I just went to straight meat eating. I loved being on a carnivorous diet. And the more I ate meat, the more I cut out all the roughage and stuff like that, and the more my body felt good. My parents thought I was weird. My friends thought I was weird. Everybody thought, what are you trying to kill yourself? No, I'm not. I'm trying to save myself. I don't want to go back to the hospital anymore. The only way I felt normal was to stop eating vegetables. And there's probably some vegan that's going to get a hold of this video and they're going to try to tear it apart and debunk it, but I really don't care. The facts are the facts. When I eat greens and vegetables and things like that, very, very tiny, small amounts don't seem to be that big of an issue. I might feel a little bloated the next day, but that's it. But when I'm eating them every single day, I feel like I'm going to die. And then just after a few weeks, a month, 2 months of doing it, I'm in this chronic condition of bloated and stomach problems every single day that eventually end up leading to me being right back in the hospital again. So this would explain a couple months ago when I tried to show you guys that, you know, I'm going to go keto for 30 days and let's see what happens. Well, the entire 30 days, the first week or two, I didn't feel that bad. But by the time I got into that middle of the second week, towards the end of it, I started feeling like trash again. My sleep was off. My energy levels were down. I started gaining a little bit of weight again. Everything started to change. I started to stay bloated. My stomach started hurting me really bad, so I had to quit. The first time before that, I thought it was a fluke. 2 weeks before that, I tried it, and I had 2 weeks of keto, and I was on camera with you guys whenever I started noticing the symptoms. My nose started running. I had a lot of pressure in my head, and my stomach started hurting me, and I almost started draining immediately. My temperature went up. I almost felt like I had a fever. So it didn't dawn on me until after that that happened, and then I gave it a couple weeks. I tried it again for 30 days, and I was having some of the same symptoms. And I thought, I don't know, man. I don't know if this is it. And then I tried it a third time, and sure enough, the third time I started getting some of those those symptoms back. And I said, well, I've proved it. I did a whole year of carnivore, knowing that I felt the best on carnivore. But every time I start adding the vegetables and stuff back in, I start getting some of the same conditions back. The diarrhea, the nausea, my almost an immune reaction immediately to where my body wants to start just draining itself based on what I'm eating, and then some of the bloating and the stomach conditions started coming back. But since I quit and I don't eat any vegetables anymore, other than a little piece of lettuce that might be, or a pickle that might be on a double patty from McDonald's, I don't have these symptoms anymore. When I cut that stuff out completely and I don't chronically have it every single day, or I don't have it very often, I seem to not have issues with this. But I'm starting to realize that maybe I need to pursue something with the VA so I can possibly get some kind of expertise help, some help beyond what I've already been dealing with. So it's a condition that I acquired in Iraq, and it's been a friend of mine for some time now, and I've learned to manage it. And it seems that if I'm not careful, I start to reactivate certain things that happen. And I'm embarrassed by it. It's something that I haven't been wanting to talk about for a long time, but more people have been asking about what all has happened to me, what made me go keto, what made me go carnivore. Well, there's your answers. Those are only some of it. The chronic conditions from my knees and the arthritis that was in my body all over the time from the military service, from me pounding, I'm carrying a 130 pound rucksack, the radio guy with all the batteries, the ammunition. I eat organ meat sometimes, but I don't feel like I have to eat them all the time. I'm not on the Sean Baker diet where he just eats ribeye every single day. I don't believe in that, but I do have kidney. I do have some lamb brain sometimes. I'll have like lamb liver and stuff. There's a local store here I found today where I actually went and videoed a little bit and took some pictures where they have all the organs that have the minerals and stuff that I seem to be doing very well on. I just can't have them excessively because I start getting diarrhea and stuff. But I do eat organs sometimes. It does make me feel a little bit better to have it, once or twice throughout the week. I haven't tried lamb heart, but they do have like nice quarter-pound lamb hearts here. I wanted to try some of them, but other than that, I'm an obligate carnivore now. I mean, it's just, I'm obligated to live this lifestyle now because of my condition. I mean, it's something that I realize I feel the best off of, and I can't change that. It's just part of my life. And, a lot of things that have affected me is the medications that they had me on, taking Zoloft and sertraline and trying these antidepressants and those antidepressants. And do you have PTSD? You're damn right I got PTSD. Do you want to kill everybody that walks? No, I don't. But at the time, I had a problem because of what was going on in Iraq. Every Arab person I seen, I was always on guard. I didn't want to hurt them. I was always on guard. They never did anything wrong to me, honestly. But I was always on guard. There was a number of things that was wrong with me. I couldn't go into a restaurant and sit with my back to the door. I had to be all the way back in the corner looking at the door, so every single person that came in, I could case, okay, if this guy does that to me, I'm taking him out first, and then I'm going to take that, and I'm going to knock that guy out, and then I'm taking that, and I'm going to cut that guy's. I used to be that kind of guy. But then I got to a point where I started learning through my diet, it would make me feel better. And I didn't have to worry about that stuff anymore. And I already have my VA benefits. I already have all that. They're taking care of me for the PTSD. They're taking care of me for the arthritis all over my body, which is bad. And the only way that I can function like I do and go to the gym and stuff like that is because of the way I eat. I couldn't do it before that. That would hurt too bad. So, you know, there's a number of things that I have a mild case of sleep apnea that since I went keto and I lost the majority of the weight that I lost so far, it hasn't been as bad, but it still does come around sometimes. I still do wake up choking when I sleep because I still have more weight to lose. There's a number of things that I have to deal with, and this is why I can relate to people so much. I mean, some people talk to me sometimes like I fell off the peach tree yesterday because I'm no author of a book, you know, like Jimmy Moore, or I'm no Dr. Barry with an MD at the beginning or the end of my name. I know I've been around a while. I've been dealing with these conditions and coaching people and living this lifestyle for a long time, to where I've had to investigate and I've had to get involved with a lot of medical stuff that probably shouldn't have concerned most people, but it did me because of the conditions that I live with. So I'm a walking, breathing person of conditions that I've dealt with that I can relate to so many other people. I just couldn't keep taking the medications and stuff. I couldn't keep going that route. There was times where I would take Zoloft and sertraline and stuff like that, and I couldn't function downstairs. I didn't get aroused when I was with my partner and stuff like that. I didn't have an appetite to eat food sometimes, and then sometimes I would have too much of an appetite. So all these things were affecting me, taking these medications, these pills and stuff like that. I had to get rid of them. They weren't doing me any good. They were making me feel like trash. Sometimes I would almost feel like I didn't have feelings towards things. I couldn't have feelings. I would let relationships walk out of my life because I was so doped up on these meds all the time that they would affect me a little bit different than other people that I've had, you know, women tell me, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm leaving. Okay, go. No big deal. See you later. I just didn't care. I was so doped up on meds and stuff that taking the max 200 of this, 400 of that, trying to find ways to pacify my pain and the condition that I was dealing with, and just finding my way through food. I mean, it was a battle every single day, and I just didn't care. I wouldn't talk to my parents about it. I wouldn't tell anybody about it until I sat down one day and I told my mother what was going on, and she cried because she didn't know about any of the stuff I was dealing with because I wouldn't tell her. So it's, you know, it is what it is. I felt like maybe I should be honest with you guys because more people are asking about it, and the bigger my channel gets, somebody's going to dig into my past. Somebody's going to find out about the things that, you know, the military is pretty sealed up as it is, but somebody's going to figure out, you know, all the chronic conditions and stuff that I've dealt with, and they're going to blame it on something else and say, oh, keto did that or keto did this. Well, I'm making this video to clear this up, to let people know that it wasn't keto that did this, and it wasn't carnivore that did this. Those are the things that helped me fix what was wrong with me. And I'm here today helping everybody else because of the knowledge that I've learned throughout the years, and helping people and coaching people and trying to be there for them when they've dealt with the same conditions, if not worse than what I've dealt with. So it's my lifestyle now. I live it. I realize that I'm probably not going to get fixed for it, but the carnivore diet is what helps me live through that condition where I'm not in pain, where I'm not being affected by it. And if something does happen, it's very, very mild, and I can pull out of it right away. More hydration, and I just push through it. And those days that I feel the like awkward or the pain coming on, I just don't eat those days. a lot of people ask me, why do you go through these big periods of carnivore all the time, and then you go through weeks of fasting, where I'll do like a 2-day, 48 hour, 72 hour, 5-day fast, and I'll do it over and over and over and over again. It's because it helps me. It does help my digestive tract. It helps me clear a lot of stuff out of my body that's not supposed to be there. It makes me feel better in the long run. It gives me that immune reset and stuff, every 72 hours, every 72 to 96 hours. That's why I feel my best, and that's why I try to do them more often than most people do. I've got after this 14-day experiment with dirty days fast food, I'm going to go right back into more fasting. It's going to be long periods of fasting again, because it's just what I like to do. And I had to clear some things up, because it's a part of my life, and people are asking, why are you here? Well, that's why. And it's not just that. It's some of the articles that were wrote about me, the chronic abuse in the past when I was beat as a child. I mean, I'm cut open all over my body. I've got wound marks and stuff all over my body. Where if you follow my earlier stories about my life, my body's like a carving board for a person that wants to. It's like looking at a movie, and a guy's got somebody strung up, and he's trying to get information out of him, and he rolls out his pad of knives, and he wants to cut him all kinds of certain ways. I've got it all over my body. I've got it on my face. I've got it in my scalp. I've got it in my arms, on my side. I do feel better in ketosis. I do. It definitely makes me feel good. That's the part that makes me feel the best. In carnivore, on a carnivorous diet, being in ketosis makes me feel amazing. And I'm almost rarely ever not in ketosis, even on carnivore. I know some people have very low ketones on carnivore, but almost everybody, even in that aspect, is still in some kind of ketosis. Even if it's just low, 0.5 millimolar nutritional ketosis, somewhere around there, they still feel okay. So yes, it does help me. It makes me feel great. So I've dealt with a number of conditions from a child all the way into the military, and then all the physical stuff that's happened to me from a child into the military. And I'm a walking, living testament to what you can change. You don't have to be a statistic. You don't have to be a victim. You don't have to make excuses why you do things in your life. You just have to be willing to put some effort in to not be like every other Joe Schmo that's been through the same bullshit that you've been through, and then use that as why I can't have a job, why I'm not on Social Security, why I don't have this, why I'm screwing that girl, and that girl, why I can't take care of my kids. You don't have to be a statistic in life. I've been through some of the toughest shit that you can possibly go through, and I'm sitting, breathing, and talking to you today that you don't have to be that person. You can pull through it. I've been through it. I've been through divorce. I've lost two companies already. That I've been through all this stuff, and I'm sitting here today as not a non-criminal. I haven't been to jail for any kind of robbery or beating people up, or I don't have children out there I don't pay for, or some girl I gave an STD or something to because of how careless I live my life. I'm not a statistic. I chose to not be a statistic. I was with 9 different foster families. I could have been a statistic for anything, but I'm a living, breathing, walking version of what you can do in your life if you just tell yourself, I'm not going to be that guy. I will not be that guy. So my decisions in life really started changing about the time I was 25, 26 years old, and now I'm 33. I realized nutrition is the biggest part of my life. I cannot live my life without good nutrition. It has to be somewhat good. If I don't do that, thank you. I'm close to senior master certified. I just don't have enough time in yet. So I've been through, automotive school, diesel school, hydraulic school, body school, Ford school, international school, advanced training for all my programs. You don't have to be a statistic. You don't have to be that guy that, oh no, it's because of what he's been through that he's that way. All bullshit. If that was the case, I'd be locked up in prison behind bars for the rest of my life now, because I would have murdered every dang person and raped every woman out there and did every freaking drug and I'm just a normal person that's never done any of that, never chose to live that lifestyle. So I'm just saying that nutrition is the biggest part of my life. It's what's kept me on a straight and narrow. It's what's kept me from not being that vet that's blew his brains out or hurt somebody and then took his life in the process of doing it. It's what's kept me here today. I can honestly say the reason I'm living and breathing and talking to you right now is because I chose the right stuff in my life, and I chose to figure out what was going on with my gut, which was affecting my brain and the rest of the things that was in my body. It sounds silly. It does sound silly to some people, but it's the truth. So I wanted to share my message with you guys tonight when most of the people are not here seeing this right now. And I wanted to share that in more of an intimate setting where I'm not around the dog and she's making a bunch of noise around my parents or something like that. I'm just sitting in an empty parking lot, or a semi-empty parking lot right now. I just got done seeing that Captain America movie. And that girl rocked that movie. So if you haven't seen the Captain America or Marvel movie, you need to see it. She rocked that movie. And I figured, why not just do it now? Talk about it now. Just be open and honest and tell you guys exactly what's happened in my life, where I've come from, where I'm at. I was at almost 400 pounds. I've lost 147 pounds, but I've stalled out for a while. I got down to 250, and then I started getting a lot of loose skin all over my body, so I started doing deadlifts, squats, and all this, and I went through a 6-month period where I just 5 pounds of meat per day almost in the gym, pounding the weights, getting bigger and stronger and bigger and stronger, and I took care of a lot of that loose skin. So I got back up to about 288 pounds, and over the last 3 months, I've kind of brought it back down, gained a little bit of muscle, brought it back down, gained a little bit of muscle, and now this last 14-day trial, I've lost 6 pounds on this dirty carnivore diet, and it's been a program that I've been moving back and forth, shifting left and right, because I don't want to have a $14,000 surgery, because I don't have that kind of money to straighten my skin issues and stuff out. So I just take it slow. I lose and gain, lose and gain, lose and gain. And I realize it's going to be a long, drawn-out process for me through fasting, carnivore, and pounding the weights. I kind of pull that from Chris Cruiser right there, beasting, feasting, and fasting. And that's just how it is. That's how I live my life right now. So that's my story, guys. That's the condition that I'm living with. It's a Amobic or Amobiasis, dysentery type condition that is supposed to go away, but there are conditions that linger around. There are things that it spreads to other organs sometimes and affects them long term. So it's not something that is completely diagnosed with me, but the military put me, they gave me the diagnosis based on what happened back in 2008. And they revisit it from time to time whenever my conditions get worse, and they call it colitis or diverticulitis, or they say it's an extreme form of these that you can probably put together and still not understand exactly what it is. And that's just it. That's the story. So I just wanted to be open and honest with you, so this never gets used against me. I can clear it up right now and just tell you what my deal is. Have you heard about how somebody out there tested meat from several fast food chains and found that Wendy's was the best quality? I was kind of surprised by that. I mean, I can see how Wendy's would be, you know, a pretty good quality burger, but I don't think Wendy's is the best quality. I think if you were actually to look at all of the chains, the cleanest form of beef that I've found from fast food was from Five Guys, because they take fresh ground beef and they make patties right there, and they form them and cook them right there on their grill. So it's not a pre-pressed patty. It's not something that's been pre-processed. All they do is just take ground beef and they make their own patties, and it's probably the most heavenly burger or meat that I've had so far out of all the fast food places, because they do it right there. I mean, it's not, they make everything fresh every single day. It's not a pre-pressed patty they pull out of a box. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you just figure out what works for you. I mean, so far, I like the taste of, if we look at strictly fast food and we're not going to more personal, like individual, like Five Guys or something like that, more bigger chain, box chains or something like that, I like Sonic burgers the best. They seem to be the widest, the flattest, and the cheese melts on them the best. I mean, it's not necessarily the most ideal situation with any of them, but it's just something that you could have sometimes and not feel guilty about it. It's probably not going to cause any conditions at all. And if you look at the amount of canola oil or soy oil that you're going to be getting in the cheese. It's very minute, almost probably not going to do anything to you at all. It's just something that you don't want to keep doing long term because you are what you eat. So your cell health, your cell, how it forms and how healthy it is and how it sends chemical messages across, and the types of fat that surround it are going to be compromised by um, the types of foods that you eat. So long-term eating, dirty style foods are what compromise the exact receptors on the cell that leave them in a form of having a crinkled surface, so they don't function like they're supposed to. They still function, but just not like they're supposed to. So I like to add things in and take things out. Um, are you familiar with Dr. Darren Schmidt? I am. He was on Biohackers a day or two ago. He has good info on mold and fungus symptoms. Seems it can be an avenue. I mean, I'll check it out. I don't really like following too many doctors anymore. I've been burned by too many of them, and I've promoted them because I've been doing this longer than most of the doctors we follow. I mean, some of them have been doing it a long time, but I've been on social media longer than them, and I've tried helping promote some of them and pull them into my keto groups and expose them to other admins, and they use you. They take the promotion and they gain their subscribers and stuff like that, and they use you, and then they bounce and they never come back, and they act like they don't even know you anymore. So I don't really pay too much attention to him anymore. Like Dr. Paul Saladino, he's a new carnivore doctor that's trending all the time, and he's a great guy. He's got a wonderful personality, don't get me wrong, but I found Dr. Paul Saladino at like 250 subscribers, and I pulled him onto my keto group, and I started doing interviews and stuff with him, and I exposed him to everybody. And then he went on Instagram and he said, hey, go check out this Carnivore Keto Nation official group, and they're a good group. The guy's a good guy or whatever. He runs a tight group. Check him out. Well, all of a sudden that quit, and there was no more of that. I mean, he even went and did a 45-minute talk to my group about different things that were in carnivorous foods and how to be a successful carnivore with adding in grass-fed butters for certain reasons and stuff. And I thought, man, this is awesome. This is finally a doctor that respects me taking him and pushing his information out to all the other groups and asking the other creators and stuff to help me make this guy bigger because I believe in him. And then what happens? All of a sudden, Pop Smoke, gone, forgets about you, doesn't answer messages anymore. It's one of those things now where I don't like getting involved with doctors anymore. I don't even like talking to them anymore. I mean, I sent Dr. Barry a message and said, dude, I can't even stand talking about you anymore because I used to be able to talk to you all the time when you were a smaller doctor. But now you're so busy chasing popularity and everything else, I can't get a message across to you. I can't get anything answered. I can't network with you. You're never available. And I was one of the main people when you first started that pushed your message all over the place. And now you won't even, I can message you right now and you won't even look at a message or an email from me for 3 or 4 weeks from now. And then when you do answer it, you're too busy to get back to anybody. So you must have forgotten where you come from. I helped you and other people helped you, and now you act like we're just dust in the wind. So I don't really talk to these doctors anymore. I don't have a lot of respect for them anymore. I respect what they do, but not them personally. And I just kind of do my own thing. I find that talking to people like you and other group creators like Bart K. Bart K is a phenomenal guy. I could message him right now, and he's our scientist. He's the one that actually understands more about what's going on inside the body than any of these doctors do. He's the one that has studied as a profession his whole entire life about what's going on with cellular activity, different types of things that happen inside the body and why they happen. He's the guy that understands all that stuff, and I can message him right now and he'll answer me as soon as he gets online. He's just a really good dude. I mean, he might have some people might not like his attitude, but every time I ask him a question, he answers. Every time I message Carnival, he answers. Every time I find another YouTube creator that's kind of low-key like me that has been doing this for a while, they're always willing to network back and forth and answer questions and stuff like that, and they help you a lot. They actually get you a lot of medical answers and stuff. But these bigger doctors and stuff now, they're chasing that dollar sign, man. That's just what it comes down to. They're chasing the big old mighty dollar. And in the beginning, it was a great way for them to show they cared about people and answer questions and stuff. But now it's gotten to the point where some of them are getting so big, they want to build new houses, new conference rooms. They want to walk away from their practices. They want to do all this stuff because people like us are the gullible ones, that are pushing them along and letting them do that. But regardless of what you think or I think, they knew the same information coming into this that we did. They didn't know shit. They had to study, they had to read books, they had to look at scientific graphs, they had to do all that just like we do. So the knowledge base there is not that much greater, other than what's going on with medicine, than any of us. I've sat down and had conversation with Dr. Berry and other doctors and stuff like that, and acted like when I left the conversation, I didn't really learn too much from them because I had been studying it for so long before I went into the conversation. I didn't gain that much knowledge. So, you know, a lot of these people are running away with, you know, nice futures and cush lifestyles and stuff like that, and making tons of money off Patreon and stuff every month, and they're doing the same exact thing that a lot of us creators are doing. We're answering the same questions the same way, giving the same advice, the same recommendations when it comes to minerals and vitamins and adaptation periods, and they're getting paid the big bucks for it. When really, a lot of us have been doing it a lot longer than them. So a lot of doctors have burned their bridges with me. I don't even want to follow them no more. I mean, I just told them straight up, like, hey, don't forget where you came from, but I'm done with you. I ain't got no use for you no more, because if you're going to do me that way, I want to move on. Somebody messaged me today and said, you know, what's up with you know, this doctor? And I said, look, I don't want to get into all that. I just want to be straight with you on what I feel about them. And then whenever the person told me, they said, you know what, I've been following that doctor for a long time, and something just doesn't seem right. And now I'm glad you finally brought that up, because I feel the same way, and I'm not feeling comfortable, because that doctor used to be great when they were smaller, but now that they're getting bigger, I'm seeing a lot more talks about spending money and growing and trying to get that subscriber rating and stuff like that, instead of actually being a doctor like they were when they were small. So I have some big issues with all that, and I've been quiet about it for a long time, but recently I said to hell with all that, man. I've done enough studying and research and stuff on my own, and I have my own keto and carnivore groups where I don't need them anyway. I don't need them to be on my team, and I don't need to support them. I do my own thing. I do my own seminars. I pay for my own stuff. I pay for my own sponsoring. So I'm like, you know, I don't really care about what they do anymore. I just care about me helping people and trying to get them to good answers. So, I mean, I do my own thing now. That's just how it is. I don't worry about them. So I'm rambling now, guys. I'm trying to answer questions and hit on key points, but what I need to do is I need to go ahead and get off of here, so I'm not holding you guys up. I mean, if you have any questions, you want to talk about something or whatever, we can do that real quick. But if not, I'm gonna go ahead and jump off of here. That's because the doctors, I don't really like the doctors anymore. My parents are starting to listen to me more now than they listen to their own doctors, honestly. I'm starting to hear my father talking about, let's find something with no carbs. And my mother's starting to say, look, I've just been eating meat the last 3 weeks and I already lost 18 pounds. And I'm like, Mom, do you know how long I've been telling you that? Do you know how long I've been recommending that that's what you do anyway? And she said, I don't know, my pants are loose, they're falling off of me and stuff, and I just feel great. I said, did your doctor tell you that? She said, no, not at all. And I said, well, there's a reason for that. He wants you to keep coming back and getting the medication and claiming stuff on your insurance policy and everything else. Dad's been saying that a lot more too now. Maybe we could, he said, Rich, does gluten-free pasta have carbs in it? I said, Dad, yes. And I kind of offended him a little bit. And he said, so gluten-free pasta does have carbs. I said, Dad, yes, it does. It has carbs. I said, gluten is just a protein that is not easily digested by most people's some people's digestive tracts. And I just kind of depicted something, and I broke it down Barney style. I said, picture a hole like this, and you've got a protein chain that long trying to go through that little hole. There's a lot of times where your body can't digest that. It has issues, and when they get blocked up, they inflame. It inflames your digestive tract. And he says, I wasn't really asking all that. I just wanted to know if it had carbs. And I was like, okay, yes, it does. It has carbs, Dad. It does, and it's not healthy for you. So even my dad is starting to ask questions about everything, and they're starting to trust me. So I'm liking that. I'm liking the fact that they're trusting me. I'm liking the fact that they're starting to become more engaged with their health. My dad looks like he's lost weight since he had the whole foot surgery deal for the neuropathy. and his face got smaller, and it looks like he's just more alert now that he's losing a little bit of weight while he's in a rehab nursing home place, but he's coming home next week. And that would be the highlight of my life if my parents jumped on board with keto and low carb. Because my dad brought up, he said, Rich, did you see that thing on the news today, that scientific study that was done that talks about how bad keto is? And I just came straight out and said, Dad, I don't care about that bullshit. Seriously, I don't care. I really don't. I've seen it all. I've heard it all. I've already seen all the damn studies. I'll do my own studies with people like me and you. If you're telling me you feel good and your labs are showing that you're good, your CRP levels are fine, your A1C's fine, your blood sugar and stuff's fine, your LDL, all your other markers, your remnant cholesterol, more along that line, or the HDL to triglyceride ratio. Let's look at those things. Let's not worry about LDL and all this other stuff that these crap doctors like to worry about. I got this. I don't need them to do that for me. I don't need them to interpret my labs or I got this. Let's just look at this and we'll figure it out. And my dad seems to be like, how do you know all this stuff? And I'm like, Dad, I just do it, man. I just do it. I don't want to be stupid. I don't want to have to go to the doctor and rely on the doctors for this stuff all the time. So I don't even know what high pylori is. I just know that I'll look into it. I mean, I've got so much going on right now with the move and my last employer. I mean, you guys already know the deal. I left the job I gave them a 4-week notice, but 2 weeks in they fired me on Thursday and then told me they weren't going to pay me. So now I'm living off fumes right now. I moved up here. It cost me almost $1,000 for U-Haul and fuel, and another $1,000 or $500 for food and living expenses, and then paying for the hotel room, and I've got limited amounts of money in my pocket right now, so I've been very stressed lately trying to figure out exactly, after next week where things are, where the money's going to come from. I might have to start, I don't know, selling laptops or tools or something like that. I thought of maybe driving Uber to get some extra money or something like that, but I went and found out today the fact that this window is cracked right here. They won't allow me to drive for them until it's fixed, which this is an expensive side window. It's a laminated side window. It's not your regular standard window. Because this is a little bit of a higher end car, it's not super high end, but it's the one under the top model. So the side windows are laminated. If they get busted, they just crack, they don't shatter. And then the front window is the same thing. The front window is super expensive because it's got the OnStar box and everything attached to it. And I was like, damn, man, I can't even drive for Uber right now because it's got this crack in the window and stuff. But I'm trying to do the best that I can. It's just more stress on top of everything, and I've been making videos to stay engaged so I don't think so much about the stress, and I just keep going, just keep footing it, keep moving. I start the new job Tuesday, but I know what's going to end up happening. It's going to be like, that pay period plus the next pay period before you even get paid. So most companies, that's how it is when you start out. Very rare do you get paid right away. So I mean, we'll just have to see what happens. On top of everything, and then being stressed out, I don't want to look up any medical conditions. I don't want to do anything right now. I just want to just be chill and just try to recover from all this. It seems like the big man upstairs puts something in my path and then changes it up and throws something in my path, and then I have to sit there and look at myself like, why me, man? Why? I'm exhausted mentally, physically. I'm just so wore out right now that I'm surprised I can keep going with all this stuff because of everything that's going on. I think the highlight of my day is being able to see my folks, my parents, lose weight. They keep mentioning low carb, low carb, low carb, and that's good enough for me. Even if it's not keto, that's good enough for me. My mom said tonight, I think I'm going to add it in a little salad from time to time, some bacon, some cheese and stuff. And I said, do what you do, Mom. If that's what you feel like doing, do it. I mean, if that's what's going to make you healthy, do it. But just make sure you're keeping it within that list, that food list I gave you, that keto list. And she said, oh, yeah, I'm not going to eat off that list at all. I'll eat what's on that list, and I'll just do it in moderation. I said, there you go. That's all you got to worry about, and you'll heal. And she's already healing. So, well, I am resting. It's just you still got a lot of stuff on your mind in the process. When you're trying to live a normal life and at least have somewhat of some fun, At the same time, live like you don't have anything, because you're trying to take what you got and expand it even further. The little bit of dough that I do have left to make it to where I need to make it over the next few weeks. It's hard to rest. Sometimes if your brain don't rest, your body ain't gonna rest, and that's just reality. But I always make it through it. I always find a way through these situations, no matter how tough they are. It's just a matter of, staying on track and just going with it. Just take it one day at a time. I was thinking about jumping on Craigslist and seeing if I could pick up some extra side job. Seeing as I am a master mechanic, I pretty much fix anything on the road. Seeing if I could pick anything up around here, just post something on like one of these local ads and say, hey, anybody looking for a mechanic? I'm looking to make some extra cash. Let's do this. Or I could just go to a local strip joint and just, show myself off a little bit. Maybe the male feature night. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Uh, I don't know. I'm rambling now. I want to get off here. I want to let you guys go for the night, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to bed. I'll check out some of the recommendations and things that you guys said on here about this. And again, I appreciate you guys sitting here with me this entire time and letting me vent. It's been a rough couple weeks. I realized I had to come back home because my family being sick and my dad being in the hospital. And in the process of doing that, my employer kind of screwed me over. But a lady called me today from New Orleans, and she said, hey, I had a voicemail on my answer machine from you, and I'm just wondering about this whole situation with your job. So you haven't got paid anything since Thursday? And I said, no, ma'am, I haven't. He hasn't paid me a dime. And she says, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you some paperwork in the mail, and you're going to fill this paperwork out perfectly. No, she said, I'm going to send it to you in an email, and you're going to print it off, and you're going to fill out this paperwork perfectly. She said, I could do something about it if it was in New Orleans, but because it's not in New Orleans, I want you to be able to do it yourself. And it's going to be legal paperwork that you fill out yourself, and you're going to request 100% of what your salary would have been if you would have still been working there. Not no minimum wage times whatever, 100% of your salary since you've been there. Submit the paperwork to him, put the pressure on top of him, because he will have to respond to it in some way, shape, or form. And if he doesn't respond to it, you get back a hold of me, and we'll take it further from there, and I'll tell you what your next steps are. And basically, at this point, you pin him into a corner where he's not responding. He knows he's at fault. He has to pay you something, but you're requesting your full salary, and we can take steps further from there, and then possibly get court proceedings to take place on his dime and not yours, and he'll be found at fault. So he has to do something. It just may take 3 or 4 or 5 weeks for this to happen. And I was like, yeah, well, that sucks, because in the meantime, I'm struggling. So we'll get there. We'll get there one day at a time. So that was the new update today. So she said, if you don't have the paperwork by the end of today, Friday, it'll be in your mailbox by Monday. And then fill out all that stuff out and send it to him, and put the ball in his court and make him start doing something. And if he doesn't, then it's just going to he's going to dig a deeper hole. It's going to put him in a worse situation, and then he's going to owe even more money. So anyway, time to go. Time to get some sleep. Thank you guys. I appreciate you again. Remember, whenever you're looking at somebody and you're judging somebody, there's always two sides to a story. There's always somebody's backstory. What you think you may see and you may know may not be what you know. So I appreciate y'all. God bless you. Thank you. Have a good night.